How's it going, and welcome back to another Pokemon Unite video here on YouTube. We just had a giant patch drop. It includes a new character, Trevenant, as well as a bunch of buffs and nerfs to other Pokemon that were already in the game. For today's video, I'm going to start by running through those patch notes and talk about which changes I like and why. Then we're going to run through Trevenant's kit based on the numbers that are up on Unite Pro. And then we're going to jump on into the practice tool and showcase it in some gameplay. Tomorrow's video will return to our normal Pokemon match structure that you're used to here, and we'll have some Trevenant gameplay then as well. So let's start with the patch notes here. So to begin, we have Dragonite nerfs, which were much needed. Something to note here is that the max HP damage is still the same as before when you're stacking up your Hyper Beams, your Dragon Dances before Hyper Beam. That being said, there are some other changes here. So notably, the base damage as well as the ratio that's based on what your total attack is have been reduced on Hyper Beam. And this should notably really help the amount of damage that Hyper Beam does to the squishier characters in the game. So like the Greninjas, the Cinderaces, Decidueyes, Pikachus, etc. should get deleted slightly less by Hyper Beam, which is a good thing. Another thing to note here is that just the base attack range on Dragonite has been reduced. And something to consider with this is subtly a Hyper Beam nerf as well, because remember, in order to get your Hyper Beam to that maximum potential, you need to get to that stage 3 on the Dragon Dance. And in order to get to that stage 3 on Dragon Dance, you need to be dancing around constantly attacking people. And if your attack range is smaller, it will be more difficult to keep those attack stacks up. So in a roundabout way, this attack range decrease is also a nerf to Hyper Beam. Another good change here, trying to diversify the less used moveset, the range increases that Extreme Speed can snap to a little bit, and its cooldown is reduced by 7 seconds. And something to remember about Extreme Speed that's relevant here is when you use Extreme Speed, it resets the cooldown on the passive for Dragonite, which lets you take 20% less damage for 2 seconds. So that means 2 out of every 7 seconds, you're basically going to have a 20% damage reduction. So maybe the Brawler build's a little bit more relevant. The Unite energy cost here is super relevant as well. So Dragonite it doesn't use all of its Unite percentage depending on how far you jump with it. And the minimum Unite percentage you can use now has gone from 25% to 50%, which means Dragonite's not going to be able to Unite every team fight now, and it'll have less incentive to use it just to score in the early to mid game like you would frequently see. Zarina got some much needed nerfs. I think while obviously the focus of the metagame has been around Dragonite and its secure potential, Zarina was easily one of, if not the best Pokemon in the game in terms of brawling and team fights. So there's a number of changes here to start. Triple Axle no longer gives you an increased attack speed, but they changed and put some regular increased attack speed into the rest of her kit, which is interesting. This feels like a way to try and balance out and encourage people to take Stomp, which again, I think are good changes overall. You want to encourage move and build diversity within each individual Pokemon. The base damage as well as the extra damage from the Queen's Majesty buff changed here, which was good. Stomp now notably heals you more, which is great. Again, trying to encourage those lesser used moves to be played. And Grassy Glide, 2 big changes here. Its cooldown not only went up 1.5 seconds, but it no longer slows the people that you Grassy Glide into. So you'll still grab them and pull them back a little bit, but it'll be a little bit easier to get out from underneath Zarina than it was before. The fly change on Talonflame is interesting. It's one that's it's kind of a side grade because it's not strictly worse than before, but I think in total it's worse. So they increased the total cooldown from 9 seconds to 12 seconds, but they added the asterisk that if you hit an enemy Pokemon with Fly, the cooldown gets reduced by 40%. So if you land a hit with Fly, it actually has less of a cooldown than it did prior. So an interesting, worse in some situations, better in others in terms of cooldown. They did also notably reduce its damage though. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Fly was already kind of a worse smite than Hyper Beam, and that's going to get even more so a discrepancy here. They upgraded Aerial Ace, which is a move that people typically didn't take with Talonflame, and gave it a 50% heal, which is neat. Up next, we have nerfs that I honestly wasn't really expecting. I felt like Lucario had gotten to a relatively okay spot, but honestly, I'll take it. I feel like nerfing Lucario a little bit more is going to continue to just open up that top lane gameplay in 5 stacks. And honestly, I think this could be the change that pushes things back towards that 2-2-1-2 metagame away from the 1-1-3 that we've seen. So notably, Meteor Mash, which is one of Lucario's starting moves, does less damage now, and it pushes people less. So this means that it's going to be easier to contest last hits on farm against Lucario, making it a little bit less of a nightmare early. And then when it comes to late, the heal on extreme speed was reduced here from 45 down to 33.75. So that's, almost a 25% reduction how much Lucario heals off extreme speed. Other things to note is, again, side grading. They're upgrading other things. Close combat is a move basically no one ever takes with Lucario. So this now heals you a little bit and grants you unstoppable when you use it. So we could potentially see this pick something up. Charizard is interesting. So they increased the range on its Unite move, and they made it so both Flamethrower and Fire Blast no longer require you to stop moving while you use them. So definitely strict upgrades here, although it is noteworthy that apparently Charizard is slightly slower with how quick its basic attacks pop off. So again, this is not a strict buff. It's kind of a side grade, but I think overall this is going to be an improvement for Charizard's kit, which is a good thing. Decidueye got a number of changes that are definitely powerful. This is strict upgrade territory here. So notably, first, lifesteal gets more intense more quickly for Decidueye, and it tops out at a higher amount now. So previously, Decidueye would top out at 20% lifesteal at level 13. Now at level 13, it hits 25% lifesteal. And at level 7, you get a really big power boost. You get 10% lifesteal. Another change that's really neat on Spirit Shackle is not only did the range get increased, but you can now hold 3 charges on Spirit Shackle, similar to Mr. Mime's Barrier, if you're familiar with that move, or Blissy's Eggs, where there's the cooldown is how long it takes them to come back up. So you can put multiple long-range attacks, one after another, into a group of people and really be this like dedicated long-range sniper style character, which is sweet. Razor Leaf also got a little bit of a boost in terms of damage, so both the builds of Decidueye are up in addition to getting more lifesteal. And then Leaf Storm here pushes more as well. Machamp is sweet. It got a buff similar to Decidueye, and I like this increased sustain, so gaining more lifesteal more quickly, so Machamp can stay in the fight. Also topping out at 20%, where it previously topped out at 15% lifesteal. And then more importantly, I think this is actually the biggest change about Machamp's kit. Karate Chop now does more base damage. Part of the reason why Machamp struggled is it wasn't necessarily the best Pokemon to have in lane early, and Karate Chop doing more damage means that you're going to contest last hits on farm better, meaning this is potentially a reasonable lane Pokemon moving forward. They increased the range on Dynamic Punch, and Submission now buffs you even if the opposing Pokemon has some kind of anti-CC on it, so you don't get your move fully canceled if you go to grab someone and they've got full heal going, which is nice. The Gengar changes are weird. I'm not gonna say this is a nerf. It's definitely a side grade. So they changed where the moves are learned for Gengar. So now instead of getting Shadow Ball at 5, you get Dream Eater at 5, which I think that's an upgrade. Dream Eater also resets its cooldown when you KO a Pokemon with it, which that's definitely a big upgrade. And then Hex actually got its damages reduced a little bit. I wonder what metrics they were saying that they decided to do that. But at any rate, as someone who likes the Dream Eater Shadow Ball build, this definitely seems like an upgrade in terms of that. Garchomp, fam. Garchomp got some more changes, and they're honestly some pretty big changes. So to start, Dig now increases defense and speed after you pop up out of it, and then Dig Plus gives you a very reasonable amount of knockup. And then Earthquake now slows things around you when you stomp down. So Garchomp, in addition to being this objective ripping Pokemon, really had some decent kind of CC inside of its kit, and increased defense on Dig specifically gives you more sustain. Dragon Rush now slows and then eventually makes you unstoppable. And Dragon Claw also slows. So kind of building into Garchomp's kit now this ability to have a little bit of CC and control is a neat direction to take it. Zera bug fixes. Hopefully these are the bug fixes for the thing that lets you glitch and do a bunch of damage. You're not going to just get deleted by Zera anymore. We got some battle item increases, which I think, again, are great. You know, eject. You see some diversity in these with, like, full heal, but eject button and full heal are largely the ones people play. X attack now gives you more attack speed in addition to more attack, and slow smoke reduces attack speed of opposing Pokemon and has its duration increased, and the actual slow on their movement is harsher. So we could see slow smoke being played on Pokemon like Zarina that want to, like, keep people in towards them. Seems potentially very good. And something to note here too is that the fact that it reduces attack speed kind of makes it a sustain item in a way, right? Because, like, if your opponents are attacking you more slowly, they're going to kill you more slowly. So this slow smoke, I think, is definitely one that I'm going to be interested to explore moving forward. Now, Trevenant, new melee defender here. So let's start out. I'm just going to read through everything on here. If you want to skip through to seeing these moves in actions, there's the navigation on the chapter thing on the button. So I'm going to show these off in the practice mode tool here right after this. But I'm going to read through and kind of talk about the ratios and give some thoughts before we actually play with it in action. Natural Cure. When a Pokemon with this ability is at a low HP, continuous HP recovery effect happens for a short time. This effect also reduces the cooldown of this Pokemon's move. When the HP recovery ends, there is a delay until it can trigger again. However, the delay is reduced each time one of this Pokemon's moves hits an opponent. Okay, neat. So this is a neat bit of sustain here, huh? So it heals you when you get low, and then also lets you use your other buttons more frequently. But if you hit people, it's going to have this come off quicker. Boosted attacks, every third attack dealing extra to opposing Pokemon and restoring HP. So every third attack you get to gain a little bit of life, which is interesting. Will-O-Wisps looks very similar to Gengar's Will-O-Wisps. Leaves them burned for a little while. And then we upgrade at level 5 into either Wood Hammer or Curse. So Woodhammer has the user pull back its arms, dealing damage to opposing Pokemon in the area of effect, pulling them in front of the user and leaving them unable to act. So a little bit of CC directly in front of you. If it deals damage to at least one opposing Pokemon, a follow attack is available. The follow-up attack slams down a giant hammer in front of itself, dealing damage to any Pokemon it hits, stunning them for a little bit. The lower the user's HP is, the longer they're left unable to act. Every time this move is used, it consumes a set amount of the user's HP. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, and if you're hitting, it drops your HP, and then you also get to stun something. So the lower you go, the longer this is going to stun for. As upgrades at 11 to decrease damage those Pokemon deal for a short time. Okay, so that builds on its CC, kind of this cone area in front of us. Curse has the user create a curse zone in exchange for some of its HP, dealing damage over time to opposing Pokemon and decreasing their movement speed. The lower this user's HP is, the greater the decrease in movement speed. While using this move, the user builds up curse power a bit every time it deals or receives damage. Releasing the built-up power will deal additional damage to Pokemon in the area effect. If the curse is at its maximum when it's released, cooldowns of Branch Poke, Horn Leech, and Pain Split are reset. Okay, so you, like, charge this up, and then it can be another reset. The characters that have resets on their skills, things like Zarina and stuff like this, are ones that are some of the more difficult to play from a micro perspective, because these are things you need to be thinking about while you're using the moves to see maximize your gameplay. All right, Branch Poke has the user jab in the designated direction, dealing damage to opposing Pokemon and decreasing their movement speed for a short time. It's a 7.5 second dash. So usually Pokemon that have a dash in their starting move kit are ones that tend to lane a little bit better, because in addition to your eject button, a dash attack like this gives you more escape, which is nice. This again upgrades into Horn Leech or Pain Split. Has the user charge forward, dealing damage to opposing Pokemon in the path and shoving them as it charges. So probably similar to Mamoswine's kind of push and bring people with it. Colliding with opposing Pokemon while charging recovers the user's HP and lowers The lower the user's remaining HP, the more HP is recovered. At the end of the charge, the opposing Pokemon that were shoved are dealt additional damage and thrown. After this move hits opposing Pokemon, the mechanics of the user's next 3 basic attacks are changed. These changed basics deal increased damage and reduce this move's cooldown when they hit. Neat. Okay, so this is an 8.5 second cooldown on the surface, but if you land 3 basics after you use it, it's actually a 5.5 second cooldown, which is a pretty big change. When this upgrades at 13, you get increased movement speed afterwards, which will make you more likely to hit and get those reductions, which is great. Pain Split, Sure Hit, creates a link between the user and the designated opposing Pokemon. While the link holds, the user redirects a portion of damage it receives to the linked Pokemon. The lower the user's remaining HP, the greater the percentage of damage is redirected. Additionally, if the user's percentage of HP remaining is lower than the linked Pokemon, this move continuously recovers HP. Neat. And using this move increases our movement speed over time. Okay, so that's cool. So it grabs someone, and then it gives you increased movement speed so you can stay on them, and it sucks life out of them if they're higher than you, and it just redirects damage from you to them while the link is up. That's interesting. 10 second cooldowns, a little bit lengthy, so it's gonna be, we're gonna have to dive into the tool, the practice tool, and see how long this looked like it lasts for is gonna be a question worth asking. The Phantom Forest creates a cursed forest dealing damage to opposing Pokemon in the area of effect, throwing them and decreasing their movement speed for a short time. For a short time afterwards, the basic attacks of all allied Pokemon deal increased damage to opposing Pokemon that were hit by this Unite move, and the user is granted a shield when this Unite move hits opposing Pokemon. The shield effects become stronger the more opposing Pokemon that are hit. While the user is shielded, our HP recovery effects are also strengthened. So that's interesting. So getting a shield on your Unite move has a lot of value because it means that you have a little bit more flexibility in what items you can take with a Pokemon like this, because Buddy Barrier is less of a must take if you're already getting a shield. Now, obviously, if you want maximum thickness, you want to support your team a little bit, Buddy Barrier could still be reasonable. But, you know, this type of area of effect, this looks like about the size of the Zap Pit. So if there's people brawling around an objective, you just pop this off. All of a sudden, all the opposing Pokemon in there start taking extra damage. You get more durability. Seems potentially very reasonable. All right, let's dive on into the practice tool and take a look at what some of these moves look like in action. All right, let's check this bad Mamma Jamma out. We're in the practice mode here. Oh, health bars look different now. All right, the dash length on this branch poke is not particularly long here. It's probably long enough to cut through both of these, I assume. Okay, I'm just gonna hit both of those on the way. This is exactly like Gengar's Will-O-Wisp, which if I had been slightly better, could probably also hit both of those. I picked Potion and then Double Band Barrier for items to start here, but I'm not sure if that's going to be ideal or not. Believe we evolve into our second stage at level 5 here. Just go ahead and dash through. Well, it does an okay amount of damage on that last hit there. Let's actually not score this. Let's do that. Look at that one more time. So we do this. Yeah, it does about like a third of it, and then does a little bit of burn after. That's probably gonna be pretty okay at securing inside of lane. All right, and this should evolve us here. Let's do Woodhammer to start, huh? It's a nice big range here. Okay, that's something worth noting too. That Be Clear was actually super reasonable. We chunked almost all of those little ones. Something that I wasn't sure on was how much, well, I wasn't gonna be sure for whatever reading it was, did opposing enemy Pokemon include creeps for that second hit on Woodhammer? And it looks like it definitely does. So we can show that off here again. You hit the first time and then you tap it again and it kind of smacks down on top. Dunk this and get our second attack. Let's grab Horn Leech and see how this dash goes. Now this has a much longer. This has a push. Oh, we did miss him that first time through. Okay. Okay, come here, friend. Come back. I want to give you a hug. Zera's unsure. The range on that. Okay, yeah, that was kind of sweet. The range on the secondary stun is that's a big circle. All right, let's get practice options here and give ourselves a level. And check out what this Unite move looks like. Okay, yeah, it's a pretty big area, like we said. Woodhammer and Horn Leech both seem interesting. Let's Cursed Wood the bees, huh? Not a ton of damage there. Our shield is pretty large, but I do also have Buddy Barrier on right now. You know, I'm gonna take Buddy Barrier off for the second test to see what that looks like for the shield size. Good bit of lifesteal on that. All right, let's jump out and jump back in and take a look at what the other two attacks look like here real quick. Okay, so we already watched this character go to lane, so let's go ahead and just level us right on up here. And I'm gonna go ahead and put Zera to about the same level we are as well, just so I can get a feel for what we look like hitting a comparable level Pokemon here. All right, what does Curse do? So Curse is going to... There's Pain Split. You can see it taking damage when I take damage. This is lasting a pretty long time. Okay, so it looks like that lasted about 7 seconds. Oh, Curse stays with me. That's interesting. Okay, you can see this healing me because it's higher life than me. Oh, and the Curse has right, the Curse charges up as it goes too. Let's grab these berries and turn around and walk on this Zera again here. You see Curse is charging up. And then it has a bit of a burst at the end there. Nice. Okay, that's kind of sweet. I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel about I don't know how I feel about Pain Split, but Curse is kind of gas. Can I Curse or Pain Split creeps? I can. Okay, so you can walk up to a creep and heal it. Okay, let's Curse. No, come back, friend. Okay, and he does. You see, he did get away from us there. Okay, then we have a burst at the end. Okay, let's we're gonna get 720 bees here in a second. Let's see what the shield looks like on our Unite move from that. What's the burst look like on this? So it charges up. Now it's at full. It's an okay amount. Okay, so let's do this and see what our shield looks like. That's an okay shield. It's probably going to be a move. We probably want Buddy Barrier on this character. And shield's not terrible, but it looks more like a supplemental barrier than not. All right. At any rate, I'm excited to play with this character. The kit's kind of neat. It's definitely very different. I don't know what I think in terms of power level, obviously, until we get a chance to really play with it. So it charges up. and now it's at full and I can tap it for a little bit of burst. I don't know how this looks in terms of power level, but in terms of play patterns, definitely looks interesting and unique compared to other Pokemon, which honestly, whether or not something's competitive is something that can be adjusted based on tweaking the actual numbers. The fact that the kit is interesting and different, I think, is what's most important for the game overall. And it looks like they've yet again come out with a Pokemon that provides some unique play patterns for the game. At any rate, I will be live on Twitch this afternoon and tomorrow afternoon if you want to drop in for some live content. And then I will also be posting daily videos here as always. So we'll have some matches with Trevenant up tomorrow morning. Thanks for watching, folks, and I'll be back soon. Peace. You watched the whole thing. Thanks for sticking around. Remember, if you enjoy the content, tap that like button, leave a comment down below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I post new highlights here 7 days a week. Remember, if you're looking for more content from me further, you can find me streaming live on twitch.tv/Jeff Hoagland, Monday through Friday. You can also give me a follow on Twitter if you want to see me spew my thoughts almost 24 hours a day at twitter.com/Jeff Hoagland. Thanks for watching, folks. You rock.